All right, welcome back. And of course, let's take a look at what's making headlines in the papers. Busy show this morning. But before we get to that, let's quickly take a look at the question of the day. We haven't looked at that yet. Thanks so much for responding already. But this is the question for those who haven't seen it.
All right, so with Africa Day being celebrated tomorrow, what are your thoughts on the current state of the continent? At Morning Live, SABC is where you can get hold of us, and also send us that voice note 078 459 1897. Right, we've got 4 minutes to get through all the papers. Let's go. 5
of them. Here goes. All right, starting this morning with the Mail and Guardian. There's the Mail and Guardian. The 50% election, ANC majority under threat for the first time in 30 years. Now into the great unknown, all of the post-election scenarios. Also Ramaphosa from Zuma savior to Zuma victim, and Zille backs Steenhuisen for moonshot president, which is an interesting one.
Wow,
and I'll certainly put that to our guest who's coming from the Freedom Front Plus, who they are of course part of that moonshot pact, what he makes of that.
Very interesting. All right, that's the Mail and Guardian, and the Business Day. Let's have a look and see what they're leading with, and that's the photograph. We mentioned it during the interview with the professor a bit earlier, that visit US President Joe Biden and Kenya's President William Ruto walk along the colonnade around the Rose Garden on their way to the Oval Office for a meeting at the White House, and the president's called for bold support for developing countries such as Kenya, and this is including through debt relief by major bilateral conditions or creditors like China. All right, then Nedbank bid to liquidate the owner of Damlin. So there's a big story for you. It's launched this bid to liquidate the Leo Chetty Group, the owner of the embattled private higher education institutions Damlin City Varsity, ICISA and Lyceum College. And this here's another one: social grants, a safe haven or a brewing storm. And then finally, Patel calls on 15 years of policy. I'll leave the Business Day.
That Demlin story is a big one.
It's a very
we
big
need
one.
to make time for that. Let's move on to the next paper, which is the Star this morning. Their lead story: Deputy Minister repays a donor. And this, of course, is embattled Public Works and Infrastructure Deputy Minister Bernice Swartz, who has finally paid the 500,000 rand debt that she had allegedly swindled from an ANC donor in exchange for the businessman dropping criminal charges against her. You could read the details of that. Poor service delivery. Community activist Nomawetu Dyasi Mokokwe shows the conditions that residents of Swaneville live. And also NUMSA takes a Stalingrad approach against Alphaco Holdings, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, whose members engaged in a strike at the offices of SA Steel Mills in Meyerton, south of Johannesburg, and allegedly beat up a woman, has condemned the alleged violence against striking workers. And households depend more on grants.
Right, on to the Citizen, the GBV bill. How will it help us? It's just big words that won't protect us from the men we see daily, says one of the victims of gender-based violence about the GBV and femicide bill about to be signed into law. 2 women open up about their pain, telling of being groomed, beaten, and forced abortions. The president should come up with real solutions, not laws. And then sign of the times again: cars driving past waste that lies uncollected in Alexandra Township yesterday. And this is that whole pick it up strike. The whole week we've seen photographs on the front pages of the newspapers talking about this pick it up strike that is still far from over.
All right, then just a quick look at Soweto there. Why top lawyers were nabbed. In a media interview, the pair out on bail. You can read that. Father punished for spanking his kids, and anti-migrant views spike. Some of the stories they cover.
All right, now remember, SABC News' website, we got you there. You can also get everything in terms of information, podcasts, interviews. We got you covered, as well as the SABC Plus app.